What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Frozen Road Podcast. I'm John Hunter. This is Danny the Pitchman Hart, and we got our boy Mikey K here. We are joined by a very, very special guest today. We got the Tribal Chief, the Rocket, Jarrett Carrabis. Jarrett, what's up, brother?
What's going on, guys? How we doing?
Good. How's it going today?
It's another day.
So, Jarrett, first things first, how's your internet going right now?
I think I fixed the issue.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on that. I had a big time last podcast. We had a big internet issue, and I think we should be good. Hopefully.
The weird thing is, though, if you listen to it on like Apple, which is what I usually listen to Baseball is Dead on, it didn't sound like you were cutting out.
Because I record locally on my laptop.
Okay.
And then I'm talking to them like how I'm talking to you guys. So if my internet sucks, then like they can't hear me, but I'm talking into my microphone, which is picking up everything that I'm saying because I'm recording into my laptop.
Gotcha. Yeah. So like when they were saying that, I'm like, he's not cutting out, and the both of them are like cracking up laughing. I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah, no, it was a bad internet day. Bad internet day.
Well, I feel like that happens with us too. Like I feel like when we think we have really bad issues, we go like listen to it back, and it's really not that bad. But I mean, you never. It's an awkward couple minutes when it's happening.
Podcast life.
Yeah,
crazy. So Jarrett, tell people who you are, what you do, all that fun stuff.
I mean, I don't even know how to describe that anymore. I mean, I'm just like a baseball guy. I do a couple different baseball podcasts. I do Baseball's Dead with Dallas Braden. We brought back Jay Hay. We added Joey this year. We're doing Name Redacted, which is basically Section 10. It's my Red Sox podcast. Tyler Milliken, who's over at the Sports Hub, he's doing that with me. And then we mix in Pete Blackburn, who I started Section 10 with. Sometimes, like once in a great while, Pat Light will show up. We mix in a cast of characters. Sometimes you'll see Coley pop in, which is nice. So yeah, that's what I'm up to these days.
That's awesome. So now he's now Business Pat.
Business Pat, yeah.
It's crazy because I feel like he went from like he completely his whole like Twitter even changed. Like the way that he even goes about everything is kind of crazy with that. So
got a new gimmick.
Yeah, he is. It's a completely new gimmick, and he's riding with it, and I'm kind of loving it. Like
he's over right now. Business Pat's over with the fans. I mean, like Baseball Pat was he was kind of one of those guys where it's like, you know, you want the crowd to love Baseball Pat, but the crowd was like, boo. And then we turned him, and he was supposed to be a heel with Business Pat, but he's such a good heel with Business Pat that he gets cheers now. So it's a very interesting dynamic with the gimmick change for Pat Light. But I was like, you need to run with this. Like Business Pat is super over right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I don't know. Like I actually really enjoyed the whole Pat Light time. I thought that was a really good.
Same.
It was a really good time, and then he just decided he was out, and then it was like, all right, and like you said, it's kind of like the where he gets cheered as a heel. It reminds me of like Stone Cold. How like Stone Cold was pretty much a heel his whole career, but no one really cared that he was a heel. No one realized that he was actually a heel the entire time.
Right.
But he just got cheered for it because he was just the man.
Well, because he was anti-establishment. It's like, everyone hates their boss. Like he's being a raging alcoholic lunatic, but it's like that's how everyone wishes they could be. And Business Pat, it's like, yeah, everyone wishes they could be the guy that like is like a multi-millionaire that just like flies helicopters to wherever he wants to go so he can party in whatever city he chooses that day. And that's just Business Pat. He's having his business meetings.
That's awesome. So Jared, how'd you get started in media? How'd that whole thing started?
I mean, I started my own website when I was in high school. I was 16 and I just wrote forever. And then I ended up Barstool found me in well, first of all, I've known Dave since probably 2007. And like I started blogging in 2006, and me and him used to like message back and forth on Facebook all the time. So I met him for the first time in 2011, and then in 2014 was kind of when I started talking to Feidelberg, and then Feidelberg was like, you know, you should be the Red Sox blogger, and I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And he looped in Dave, and then Dave was like, yeah, like I would have asked you years ago if you wanted to do that, but I figured you were just happy doing your own thing. And I was like, no, like, of course I would want to write for Barstool. Yeah. So I got the job part-time in 2014 and then went full-time in 2016, moved to New York in 2017. And I mean, like, that was like a big life adjustment being in New York. I mean, I feel like everything changed once that happened. And along the way, like, I've done other stuff. Like 2015 is when we started Section 10, which was a big deal. We were the second Barstool podcast ever. It was KFC.
It's crazy.
It was the first Barstool podcast. Section 10 was the next. It was the second one, which is crazy to think about.
Because it's just a Red Sox podcast.
It's a Red Sox podcast.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's became what it was. I mean, it sucks that you can't use the name.
I'll get it back someday.
I think you will too. And I liked your plan that you had that you were talking on the podcast about how you want to do it, and it's great. So it's like, I hope that happens, because I think everyone who was a Section 10 fan would love to see that back again.
Yeah, I mean, like, the whole thing is Dave is obviously very petty, and I think that he was upset that I was leaving, even though it was entirely their fault. And so it was kind of just like one last,
fuck
can
you.
Can we swear on this?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like, it was one last like fuck you to me on the way out, to keep it, because you go down the list. Like, he was just on KFC radio the other day, and they were talking about like people keeping IPs and stuff like that. And I'm pretty much the only one that didn't get it. Like Alex Cooper was actively shopping Call Her Daddy while she had a year and a half left on her contract. And Dave was like, here you go. Here's your IP. Like she basically spit in Dave's face. And then he was like, thank you very much. Here's your IP that's worth $50 million a year. And then here's me, like, good soldier for almost a decade, that it didn't go down like that. My contract expired. I went to them before the season started in 21 and tried to work something out, and they were crickets, because that was like what we were talking about on Kirk Minahan's podcast. Like, I was going on, and like Kirk was my quote unquote agent. That was because I was like, I'd like to get something done before the season starts. And then nothing happened. They let me go to free agency, and they kind of just, like, more or less, they were like, like, oh, you think you can get something better? Oh, you think the people actually like want you to work for them? I'm like, okay, like, what the fuck? So yeah, I mean, that's basically more or less what happened. But yeah.
I'm sorry. Do you think with the sale to Penn now, do you think does that help you anyway to getting it back and going through them, or is it still a Portnoy thing?
That's kind of like that's the point I was trying to get to, and then I got lost in my thought, is that I think Dave, at this point, he's probably just so rich, and eventually he'll get to a point where he's so checked out. He's already doing it. He's not doing the Dave Portnoy show anymore. I think he'll just get to a point where he does less and less and less, and he cares less and less and less. And I mean, hopefully, we can have a conversation about it. Because I mean, it's mine. Like, that's Section 10 is where I sit. Like, you're not gonna give Section 10 to someone else like they did with Starting 9. Like, you just can't do that. So it's just it's just petty bullshit. So hopefully we can get to a place where I can have that back eventually, because
that's you.
Like, it's just like the precedent has been set where everyone except for me got their IP on the way out. Even if they went to a competitor. Oh, you went to a competitor. All right. So if Spotify, which is where Alex Cooper went, if Spotify rolls up to Big Cat and offers him $120 million, you don't think he's taking that? Like, they are a competitor. Anyone who can hire away your talent is a competitor. He just looks at Draftkings as a competitor because it's a gambling company, and Barstool's a gambling company. So yeah, there's just a lot of like bullshit towards the end there. So hopefully we get it back. But
so knowing that you were a wrestling fan, there was like during all of this, like, I remember when, like, we were kind of hearing like the rumblings of you, and you were even saying on what was the other one that you had? Why am I drawing a blank on the other podcast? The other Barstool one.
Starting 9?
No, not Starting 9. Starting 9. I'm sorry, Starting 9. So that's what it was. So on Starting 9, there was kind of rumblings of, you kept saying like, You know, we don't know. This could be it. Like, this could be it. I remember I messaged you. Obviously, you didn't fucking see it, but I messaged you and said you should flip this and go, listen, we could make a whole angle out of this. We can make this like the summer of Carrabis, where kind of like a CM Punk type of thing.
Yeah.
Like you know how much money that would have made?
Yeah, I thought about it. You know, if I was confident that I was actually coming back, I think it would have been something I would have done. But then the longer it went on, I was like, this probably isn't going to happen in the way that people think it's going to happen. Yeah, I think that a lot of people thought that I was never going to leave, but at the end of the day, I think we all want to feel appreciated, you know, and even still, you know, like listening to Dave's interview that he did with Kevin and John. Like, he brought me up again because he brings me up in every fucking interview that he does,
and he calls you Carrabis, which is it's definitely a
on
move.
Purpose. 100%.
It's a move.
Yeah. But it's just the idea that like he was like, yeah, like that contract still doesn't make sense. Like, it's just weird to me. It's like, it's not that weird when you break down the actual return on investment. Pretty good. So
yeah,
I think for him, or for me, really, like, everyone just wants to feel valued, wants to feel appreciated. And I think, you know, they did appreciate me to an extent, but like not to the extent that like DraftKings sees it. They're like, this guy is like, a lot of people about say this about Dave, that he sees you forever how he saw you when he first met you. So for me, it's like he probably still sees me as Jared from Saugus wearing the fucking Red Sox t-shirt and backwards hat and gym shorts and socks and sandals. Like, I don't think that he ever saw me as like, oh, this guy is like a major player in the baseball social media space. Like, I just don't think that he saw it that way. Like, to him, he was like, oh, this guy, how could he contribute in the gambling world? Probably because I next to John Boy, I have the biggest reach in the baseball space in the fucking
100%.
world. So that's how. But I just don't think that he saw it that way, which is unfortunate. But you know, you just you deal with it and you move on, and I'm like significantly happier now. Like, it just feels good to like know that like DraftKings is in your corner, being like, that's our guy. Like, that's the guy that we count on to you know, get baseball fans excited about sports betting. Like, that's DraftKings is like that guy can do it. Barstool was like, that guy, why would we even consider that guy? So
yeah, which is, it doesn't even make sense, because like with the way we talk about it many times, like baseball does not do itself a favor on the way it brands itself to the younger generations, and the new wave is podcasting. That's going to connect younger people to the game. So why, as a Barstool, wouldn't you look at that and be like, this dude is connecting to so many people that are 20 years old that are about to turn 21. All these young guys that are just downloading the apps can start actually legally betting. Like, it's crazy that you don't hold a higher value in their eyes.
Yeah,
it is what it is. So,
like I said, it's how they see you, or not they. It's really just Dave. It's how Dave sees you. Like, it's like the first impression is everything type deal. I don't think that he appreciated the, I guess, impact that I could have in the baseball space. So, but I'm glad that DraftKings saw it, because it's just such a relief to feel believed in that way.
Absolutely.
So how did the whole DraftKings thing start? Like, was it just a simple, like, they reached out and said, listen, we're doing what we're doing, and we want to have podcasting start and all that type of stuff?
So I mean, I really there's obviously like a whole ass story to it, but I had hired an agent in October of that year, 21. Because, like, you know, the whole time it was like, you know, don't get an agent. Like, you have a good relationship with Dave. Like, Dave hates agents. And I was like, all right, yeah, fine. I won't do that then. Fine. No big deal. So I never had one, because the whole time I was being told that Dave hates him and like, it'll be better for you if you don't have one. I was like, okay. And then in October, I found out what someone else was making, which is like a whole thing. It's like you should never be looking at other people's papers, but it was like, wait, what? And you just kind of felt like lied to in a way, where it's like, yeah, like this is what this person makes, and like, you're doing okay, and it's like, I am not doing okay compared to like this. So yeah, I just kind of felt lied to, and I was like, all right, well, I don't want to have these conversations anymore. Like, it's pointless. Like, I need someone that's gonna like stick up for me here and like defend me, and I just don't want to have these conversations. So I hired an agent, and I just took myself out of the equation. Didn't want to deal with it, and nothing happened towards the end there, and my deal expired, and I sat out there for like a month with nothing, and then they came calling, and the idea of being in Boston, not having to go to New York anymore, I was like, this is great. I knew some people over there. I was like, this is like, I'm not going to walk in and be a complete stranger and not know anyone. Like, and then one of the things that I kept talking about was, getting to be on the ground level of something was obviously very enticing. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of came together pretty quick after that, because they just checked every box that I was kind of looking to check.
Definitely. So with Dallas, was that like a automatic? He was coming with you. Did they ask for Dallas with you, or did you say, I'm bringing Dallas with me?
I said I was bringing Dallas with me. Yeah, like it's a marriage. I mean,
100% it is. It's awesome.
Yeah, like he. So our last episode of Starting Nine was in December of 21, because his deal expired on New Year's Eve. Mine did too, but I continued to work while they were figuring out whatever they were figuring out. So I was still doing episodes of Section 10, but Dallas was like, I got no deal, so I'm not doing episodes. So I was like, that's fine. Like, I get it. So we didn't do Starting 9, but we did do Section 10. And the second that I found out that, I'm not going back, like I'm leaving, I went to them and I was like, if I'm coming in, so is Dallas. Like we are a package deal. And so they were cool about it. They were like, yeah, sure. Like if that's your guy, that's your guy. And Dallas is obviously like pumped for me for the opportunity. And I mean, it is very much like a marriage. And I think this past year, like the baseball is dead year, was our best ever, like in terms of like creativity and getting along. Cause I mean, there were like, I think because we first started out as me, Brian Wilson, and Dallas, and like they're best friends. They're both like, one dude threw a perfect game, one dude won a World Series. And I think they probably looked at me back in 2017 and like, who's this slapdick? Like, why are we stuck with this guy? Like, he didn't make it past like varsity baseball in high school. He didn't even, like, never mind D3, he didn't even play college baseball. Like, why are we doing it with this guy? So it probably took a few years to start earning respect, I guess, which is fine. Like I almost prefer that. Yeah. Like our dynamic is very much like, I wouldn't even describe it as like older brother, younger brother. It's almost like being in a clubhouse and I'm the cocky rookie that like thinks I'm the next big thing. And then he's the veteran that's like, you're not shit. Like, you got to pay your dues. And that's how it played out for, I don't know, the first 3 years. It was that way, but I was happy to, go out there and earn Dallas's respect. And I think I have it now, which is nice.
I would think so.
Yeah, I think I have it now. But yeah, no, he's just a great partner, like you watch those videos in 2018 out in LA, like he put me over big time, and spring training 2019, we did Spikes Up, like stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, like it's been a lot of fun to learn from him, because how many people in the baseball content space that didn't play professionally have a dude like Dallas at their disposal where he's calling 155 big league games a year. So he's not only was he there playing, doing it, he's still watching it every night doing it. And you can kind of see the game through his eyes. And like, that's been it very, very instrumental for me in terms of like, you look back at 2017, what I knew about baseball and what I like know now and how I can talk about the game versus how I could talk about it back then. Like he's been huge for, I guess, like my growth in the field.
For sure. We had him on in January of, what was it, Dan? 2022.
Yeah,
It was probably
yeah,
over. It was probably over a year ago. It was definitely over a year ago we had him, and he was awesome. He was up the mountains with his family, and gave us an hour of his time to just sit here and talk, and then after probably gave us another 10, and was even able to he even got us connected with Johnny Gomes. So we had him on too, which was awesome, and it was just very cool because I'm a Red Sox fan. As you know, I sit here with 2 Phillies fans, but like having Johnny Gomes on, like I watched him, win a World Series with my Sox. So it was like a big deal for me to have him on there. And that 2013 team is my favorite team. Just the way that they went about things. I felt like it was just like no one expected them to win. Their odds of the 4 World Series that I've seen, they had probably, if I had to guess, they probably had the worst odds of winning a World Series.
Definitely.
Coming off a terrible season in 2012 to then just going on with John Farrell and being able to win it that year. Like that was incredible. Yeah. And it was just so much fun to watch that team. Like, I don't know. But like having Johnny Gomes on to talk to him about it, it was like, wow, like this is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. I don't know where I'd be without that team because I've told this story before, but, in 2012, it was my first year getting paid to write, and I had a really bad experience with my employers. They didn't get it. They didn't get me. Like, I don't know why they hired me because they just didn't know what they were signing up for at all. They wanted to basically take my blog and make it a part of their website, and they were a written, like not like magazine, but kind of like what Barstool was. It wasn't a newspaper. It was like a small newspaper, I guess. And they wanted me to, they were giving me like writing assignments. And I was like, well, that's not what I do. Like I blog what I want to write about. That's just what a blog is. Like things will happen and you write about them quickly. It's not like you give me these assignments to go like to the park and get quotes and work on. It's just not like, they didn't understand what blogging was. So we butted heads all year and I was just over it. I was like, I don't like, this sucks. Like if this is what it's like to do this for a living, then I don't want to do this for a living. So one of the guys that I was like pretty close to at the time, I mean, I still talk to him now. But he was a Marine and I was like, I'm going into the fucking Marines. I don't want to, I was like, either I'm going to achieve my goal of being a Red Sox media personality. And at the time I thought I got there. I was like, I'm getting paid for this. It was like $500, maybe like $250 a week or something like that. Like it was shit money. And I was like, if this is what it's like, then at that point, I was like, I just want to do something where like my family will be proud of me. And if it's not achieving my own personal goal, then it's like, all right, then I'll just go into the Marines. And it was my mom who wrote me a letter, like begging me not to go and like, don't give up on your dream. Like you can still do that. It just didn't work out with this place in particular. And I was like, all right, fine. I guess I'll give it another shot. And I kind of blogged a little bit here and there in 2013 because I was just so bitter and sour about it after 2012 because the team was in last place. It was a very toxic group. It was the Bobby Valentine year. So I was like, I don't like writing about negativity. I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel good. So I only wrote a little bit during 2013. And then that team goes on to win the World Series. And it kind of just like breathed this new life into me wanting to do it again. And then the next year I ended up with Barstool. So I'm glad my mom wrote me that letter, because honestly, if she didn't, I really I had gone already and like I had taken the written test and like they were doing all these like physical, like I was doing it. Like it wasn't just like I'm going into the Marines. Like no. I went to the office, I filled out paperwork, I took the written test. They were doing all these like physical like measurements and all this shit. I was serious. So yeah, that 2013 team, if that doesn't happen, maybe I turn back around, and if it's another last place season, I'm like, I don't know, this sucks. I'm fucking out of here. So yeah, but now it's weird because like so many of the dudes on the 13 team, like I'm friends with those guys. Like Johnny Gomes was like hanging out at my like the game that he caught the grand slam in the front row of the Green Monster.
Yeah,
he was at my apartment before the game, and then
crazy.
and then we like went out for beers after the game. And like Will Middlebrooks, like we talk all the time now. And Mike Napoli, like I've been like at that dude's place. It's crazy. Like some of the and like Lester, like I've gotten to know him a little bit. Pedroia, which is still, like Pedroia's my guy.
He's legitimately my favorite player of all time.
That's a white whale.
Like that is my white whale player. Like if I was ever able to talk to him, that would be like a huge thing for me.
Yes, like Dustin Pedroia, I grew up wanting to be him. Like if you look at the pictures of me in like 2007, 2008, 2009, whatever Pedroia's like facial hair was, that's what I had. Whatever like gear he had, like that's what I had. Yeah. And now we're at the point where I tweeted about it. When Xander Bogaerts signed with the Padres, Pedroia like texted me to see if I was still alive. And I felt horrible about the Bogaerts thing, but in that moment I was like, how fucking cool is this that like Xander Bogaerts signed with the Padres and like Pedroia is like concerned about my well-being. Like that's nuts.
That is nuts, dude.
Yeah,
like that's just like I was actually telling, I think it was Mikey early, like maybe like a week ago, whenever it wasn't, it was when me and you finally nailed down when you were going to come on and all that. And like I was like and we were like Mikey's just starting to get back into the baseball thing. So I was like explaining to him, I said, as I was talking about you, and I said, he is legitimately the Boston version of me. You're a wrestling fan, you're a Red Sox fan. And it just made it was just the way that you just explained that, like now that's like such a cool thing.
It's nuts.
Like how awesome is that you have like they have your number. Like
correct. Yeah. I mean, it's still cool to me. Like people would be like, you know, do you ever just like get used to it or whatever? I'm like, dude, no. Like I grew up the biggest Red Sox fan in the world, and then I get to do this, and like especially like the last winter weekend, like getting to do the town hall event. Like I'm up on stage with Chaim Bloom and Sam Kennedy and John Henry and Alex Cora, like asking them these questions. I'm like, I do still have to pinch myself. Like it's not like I'm not used to it. Like that was probably the first moment where I felt like, you know, like you're kind of like in the inner circle now. And I definitely don't take it for granted. I'm not jaded to it. I 1000% still have to like pinch myself sometimes when certain things happen. Like doing the podcast with Ortiz in 2021. Like we were filming stuff in this dude's house. Like I'm walking around David Ortiz's house doing like these commercials with David Ortiz, like pitching to David Ortiz. Like I can say that I stood on a mound and saw David Ortiz in the batter's box holding a baseball bat. I can say I know what that looks like and got paid for it. I can say I know what that looks like, which is nuts.
Is it terrifying? Is it terrifying?
It's like, I don't know how, especially towards like the end of his career, because obviously from like 03 to call it like, I don't know, 2009, the guys that he was facing were probably all like his age. But when he's 39 years old in like 2016 and you're like a 23-year-old rookie or something, it's like you grew up like watching this dude slaughter baseballs.
Yeah, and he's huge.
I don't know how, if you're like a young kid seeing him get in the box, that you're not kind of like just getting like chills watching it happen.
Dude, it's like I was actually going to ask you again. That was another thing I wanted to ask you about, like the whole, like during all of that, how Barstool didn't also again see the value as they all had a part. That was also a podcast with Barstool, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So you were going to have that Section 10
Mm-hmm.
and whatchamacallit, and Starting 9
Yep.
all at the same time.
Yep.
And they still did not see value there. Well,
It's
the right
not-
value. The right value.
Yeah, the right value. Because I will say,
Like
like
that's
without getting into too
Yeah.
many details, like Barstool's final offer was for more than what I would have taken at the beginning of the 2021 season. Like if they had just listened when I originally went to them, then it would have been like boom, boom, done. Like it would not have been a drawn out process. They didn't. And I think that, you know, that the company, I think that they've maybe changed like a little bit since then, because they're probably like, oh fuck, like, you know,
People
one of the
can
guys
leave.
that we thought would always be here is not here anymore, and it's
Mhm.
because of us. Hopefully they had that moment, like it's because of us. So I can't say that they didn't see the value. I think that they just got, I don't know if complacent's the right word. There was no urgency, and that cost them in the end. Like, you know, if you want people to stay, you don't. It's Xander Bogaerts.
Dude,
If you want them to fucking stay,
It's crazy you just said that. I was just about to say your negotiations sound exactly like Xander Bogaerts.
it's exactly what happened to Xander Bogaerts. Yes, but Xander Bogaerts is going to be a lot happier in fucking San Diego with a team that's super exciting, like the San Diego Padres, and it's like. Same thing. It's like I get to be in the city that I want to be in. I get to be on the team that I want to play for. I get to play for a team that's excited to have me.
Yep.
It's all the things that you want, like in this business, is you want to be wanted. You want to be in a place where you can thrive and succeed. Like, for example, like when you work for Barstool, you can only do Barstool, which like I don't see how that's productive. I've always wanted to do MLB Network, and last year I got to do MLB Network. Like Draftkings is like, do it, dude. Like that's awesome. Like if you want to, like you should be growing in the baseball space. Barstool wants you to grow in the Barstool space. I wanted to grow in the baseball space, so that's where we didn't see eye to eye.
Mhm.
And I was like, I want to do stuff with Nesson. I got a show. I went to DraftKings, immediately got a show with Nesson. Went to DraftKings, immediately was put on a show with MLB Network. I wanna work with Sports Hub again. Like that's where I got like my kind of like start of doing any type of mainstream stuff before I ever did TV or anything else like that. I was doing spots for Zolak and Bertrand on 98.5 the Sports Hub. So I got to do the baseball hour on the Sports Hub. I got to do my own show on Nesson, and then I got to do spots on MLB Network. And DraftKings is totally supportive of all of that. It's fucking awesome.
Because
Like-
it's free advertisement at the end of the day. Like, why
Yes.
wouldn't Barstool?
I mean, they pay
notice
you,
that?
but it's free
Well,
advertisement.
yeah, but you're going
Yeah.
to all these spots to bring more attention to your regular company, which would have been Barstool, and now all that attention is going to go to DraftKings. It's just the crazy that they don't see the business aspect of that.
Right.
Again-
Like I remember when I was in New York in like 2017 or 18, and I was like, I could use some extra money, so I don't mind taking a train home to do the baseball show with Lou Merlone on Comcast on, I think it was Sunday nights. And Dave was like, well, why don't you just do a show for like a baseball show for us and like stream it here on Sunday nights? I was like, because that's more work to make the same. I'm
Yeah.
trying to do more work to make more.
Yeah.
Like that's the point of this. Like living in New York City and paying $3,000 in rent. You know, like it's like, of course I don't mind doing more work, but I'd like to get paid for it. And that's just like, again, not how he saw it. He's like, yeah, if you're gonna do more, then do it for us. It's like, well, that doesn't make sense. So yeah, I mean, even doing stuff like I was doing stuff with the WWE.
Another thing I wanted to talk about. So that's,
Crazy.
yeah,
Like I was basically cutting a promo holding the WWE title, wearing the Roman Reigns fruit necklace before Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Like they showed me for like a 60-second spot before the main event of SummerSlam. That's not happening, like unless I'm with
No.
DraftKings. So
Yeah.
like it's not like I don't like I loved my time at Barstool.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for my time at Barstool.
It got you here.
Got me here. And now I'm doing everything that I truly wanted to do. Everything that I grinded for then was to be able to do the stuff that I'm doing now. So whenever I go out, obviously like I run into like Barstool fans and like they'll ask me if I miss it. I miss my friends. Like I miss like the people, like that was like a family being there, because when you're in New York, a lot of us that were there were not from New York. So all we had was each other. And like I miss that camaraderie, and like a lot of those people became like my best friends. I miss them. But as far as like the job goes, I like this a lot better. And people are like, what do you mean? And I'm like, it's okay if you're still like I get it. Like I consume Barstool content. Like I'll watch Kevin's show. Like I listen to Kirk's podcast. Like I will still keep up with what's going on over there because I want to support my friends. And I was a fan before I worked there. So I'm like, it's totally cool to be a fan. But as far as the working experience goes, I am much happier now. And I don't like, I don't know that people can appreciate that it has nothing to do with the compensation, and it has everything to do with the opportunities that I've been given in the last year versus the opportunities that I was given before that.
So would you consider yourself the John Moxley of podcasting, leaving the big WWE to go to AEW, a relatively unknown, and just being like the lead of that?
I'm trying to think what the perfect example. It would have been. It would have been like almost like it would have been Punk before he kind of burned the bridge there.
Or even just, Cody left on himself.
Yeah.
Almost
it's more like a Jericho.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think like Draftkings has been an established brand sports book long before I was there. But in terms of their media presence, I got to be in on the ground floor. So it was kind of like being a Jericho, where it was like he was kind of pissed off when he had the match with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, and they thought it was a great match, and Vince hated it, and they had the title in the picture, then they took the title out of the picture, and then they thought they were going to go on last, and then they went on second, which is like a terrible spot. And it's like, we've got two main event talents that deserve a way more spotlight and appreciation than what you're giving us. So we're going to go somewhere else, and we're going to go where we're appreciated, and we're going to put on main event quality matches. And that would be the comparison for me.
That's awesome.
So there was, I remember you saying about your nightlight, you always wanted it to be Fenway Park, and you were able to accomplish that.
Yeah.
How awesome was that?
I can't even put that into words. Like ever since I was a kid, like before I even wanted to be in sports media, that was my dream. Like when I was like a little kid, like going to Fenway in like the late 90s, like 97, 98, and like driving into Boston, you see the Sitco sign and like the lights of Fenway, and be like, how cool would it be to like wake up to this or like see this at nighttime from where you live. Because that's my happy place. Like even to this day, like the only place that I ever want to be that makes me feel that way is Fenway. So it was always my goal to be able to see Fenway from my house, my apartment, my bedroom. And last year I moved into a place on Boylston Street, and I had like a deck and everything. It was sick. It was 2 floors, big ass deck, and huge like floor to ceiling windows that were like 15 feet high. And you could see Fenway. You could hear Fenway from
fucking nuts.
Yeah, like when the strikeout sound that they play, like I could hear that in my living room. Like the concerts that they had, there was the night that Paul McCartney was there. He did 2 nights, and I just opened up my slider, and like the quality of sound was like you were at the concert, like Red Hot Chili Peppers, like that was cool. So being able to just like go to games and then you walk, I don't know, 90 seconds down the street and you're home, like that was a dream come true. Obviously, it was super expensive, and
I heard the amount on starting? Oh, not I keep saying starting 9. I heard Baseball is Dead. I believe you mentioned how much it actually was.
It's $10,200 a month to rent, and I was like, I'm happy to do it for a year. That's not something that I want to do.
Fuck no.
The fact that people do it for a year is absolutely insane. By the way,
a big gold necklace or some shit like that. An apartment for a year across from Boston.
Yeah. I wish that it happened in 2021. Like the fact that out of all the years that I've been alive, I had to pick a last place season to live across the street from Fenway.
Yeah.
But it was still cool. Like, getting to just like walk over there whenever. Like it's less about the record of the team and more about who was on the team. Like, I think if I did it this year, it's like, I don't really know any of these guys, but getting to walk over to Fenway and it's like, see your boys like JD and Matt Barnes, Kevin Plawecki, Bogey. There's like a lot of good dudes on that team. Arroyo, he's still here, but a lot of them are gone now. So it would have really sucked if I was paying all that money to live across the street this year. So yeah, I bought a house. I'm like 20 minutes from Fenway now. So, but it's like literally, we kind of like ask like those questions to athletes. Like, you get like Dallas would be like, what was your big league purchase? And some guys, it's like, you get like a fat baseball contract and they just spend it on dumb shit. Obviously I didn't get like a fat baseball contract, but I got a chunk of change, and it's like, you can either blow it on dumb stuff, or you can reinvest it to be even better. And like, that's kind of what I did. Was like, I'm building like a podcast studio here, like a video studio. I'm building like a sick gym in my basement and putting TVs in there so that I never have to, like, you're just always available. Like if news broke, I can just walk upstairs and make a video, or we can do a podcast or whatever. I'm not going to miss a game. Like if I like missed a workout during the day, well, now I can work out at night because I can just put the games on in the gym and like still get it in. And I just like overall feel better when I'm like working out regularly. But that was the whole thing. It's like, I basically built a house that is like a content factory. It's not like a house. It's just me. I'm not married. I don't have kids. So I don't have to adhere to my wife's wishes about, well, we're gonna put a live laugh love sign right there, or you can't put a TV there for baseball games. What about the live laugh love sign?
You can see my fucking plants behind me.
The plant.
Your whole house is a man cave for you.
Yeah. The whole house is essentially a man cave, which is pretty sweet. There's actually, I don't know if you can.
The fuck is this?
That's the Undertaker on my frame TV over there.
That looks a lot cooler than these fucking sunflowers.
So how awesome was it to have your face be on during the ALCS when the Yankees were going through what they were going through?
That was great. I mean, I think the one thing that I didn't want, which I don't know that this happened, but I didn't want them to play it too much, because then people are like, oh, this fucking guy again. Like people just like, I don't want to be known for that. Like, I don't want to be like the
Whopper commercial
guy. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be that, where people are like, oh man, like if that's how you discovered me for the first time, if you already knew about me and you listened to the podcast or you followed me on Twitter and then you see the commercials, then you know it's funny, because you're like, oh, like he's definitely at home like laughing his ass off because they showed this commercial after Garrett Cole just gave up a 3-run home run. But if you had no idea who I was before, and then you see that commercial, and then you see it again and again and again, then it's like, oh, then you find out I have a podcast. Like, I'm not listening to that fucking podcast. That guy's annoying as shit. He's on my TV every 50 seconds during the playoffs. So that was my concern, was I don't want to be kind of like overexposed, especially when you're talking about, you're doing 2 podcasts with Draftkings, you're doing Nesson, you're doing MLB Network, you're doing Sports Hub. Like, that's already like 5 things. So, and then you add commercial guy on top of that. And it's like, all right, like we don't need that much Jared. I don't need that much Jared. No one does.
So one of my last things, and I'll let these guys start talking. I feel like I've been hogging the entire thing. What are your expectations for the Boston Red Sox this year?
I think they're going to be watchable, which is real. It's a low bar, but after everything that's happened, losing Xander Bogaerts, people being down on what they did at the trade deadline, not getting under the luxury tax, you don't bring back Nate in free agency. There were a lot of lows, but the way that I see it is, and John Henry actually made this point today or yesterday about how if you finish 500, you finish in last in this division because of how good it is. So I've been saying that for not in that general way, but I've been saying the Red Sox finished in last, but they would have been in third place, and I believe in any other division in baseball. So it sounds worse than what it really was, and I think, and it's the worst what if in sports, but like, what if they all stay healthy? Well, it's a 162 game season. Like, no one stays healthy. Like, that's just that's not realistic. The 2004 Red Sox, I want to say their starting five rotation, everyone made every single start that year, which is virtually unheard of. That's not going to happen this year. Like, I can promise you, the Red Sox rotation will not make every single start this year. It's not happening. So you go to the depth. It's like, all right, well, they've got options. You've got Sale, Kluber, Paxton's not even supposed to be in the rotation to start the year. Bayo, but like, he's never pitched a full season. Whitlock, but he's never pitched a full season.
That's Tyler's boy.
Who is?
That's Whitlock.
Whitlock's nasty, but it's like,
you want him in the rotation.
He'll be in the rotation. He'll be in there,
and I agree. I actually like him in the rotation. I know it sounds weird. I know you don't.
I don't like the rotation in general. I keep telling John. John keeps saying they're going to be better than expected. I'm like, dude, I do not trust this pitching rotation one bit whatsoever.
Nor should you. It's, to me, I'm not saying that they're going to be bad. I am saying that I need to see it. And this drove Dallas nuts when I used to say this about Shohei Ohtani. It's like, everyone's like, yeah, like, this dude fucking, he can pitch, he can hit, he hits bombs, he throws gas, he's a Cy Young caliber pitcher, and he's an MVP worthy bat. All right, that's awesome. And no one's ever done that in the history of baseball. I can't just take you on your word for that. Sorry. Dallas was like all in on Shohei, and I'm like, cool, but I need to see it. And he won't let me forget it. He'll bring it up all the time. Like, oh, remember when you didn't believe in Shohei? Yeah, I do. I think it was pretty fair to just not take the country of Japan at their word that this dude was the next coming. I mean, there's no one even compare him to. Yeah, because Babe Ruth didn't even do it at the same time. Like, he didn't pitch and hit at the same time. And he sucks. He's fat. Like, he's not even good at baseball. Like, there's no one who's ever been as good at baseball as Shohei Ohtani. So sorry that I didn't believe the hype when he first came over here. But that's how I feel about the Red Sox. I think that the potential to win 86 games is there. And if you're saying 86 wins, you're basically saying they could be a playoff team. And I think that that's too bold of a statement to make. But you look at the lineup and it's like, well, where's the power going from? Is Devers going to even see a fastball this year? Like, who's protecting him in the lineup? Is it Turner? All right, then we need second half Turner from last year, because first half Turner sucked.
Duvall.
Yeah, but it's like, is he going to be playing every day? Like, you're going to have Kike at short, but you put Adam Duvall in center, and then Braves fans will tell you he was at his best when he wasn't playing center, because like, playing center field, like, wore him out. So it's like, all right, do you want like a great defensive center fielder in Adam Duvall? Well, if you do, then he's going to hit like 180 with like a 670 OPS. It's like, well, that's not what we need. Like, they basically brought him in more so not for
Jackie Bradley.
Yeah, it's like, you don't want the you need the center field defense, sure, but they brought him in for the homers because they didn't have that last year. So,
and then you got Yoshida, who I think could give, from what I mean, if you look at Fangraphs, they're in love with him. They think he's going to give similar numbers to what Bogarts gave you last year.
That'd be nuts.
Which is kind of where they're at. They like, I think the Steamer had him at like a 140 weighted runs created plus, which is
That's pretty good.
Which is really good.
Yeah.
It's because I believe Bogey was at like a 136 last year. So you're giving him similar production, a little bit better than what Bogey gave you. He wasn't, and Bogey's homer didn't really power. His power was way down from last year, which it really isn't. He isn't, not like he's some crazy power hitter, but it was down from last year from what we've seen. So if he's going to give you 15 to 20 home runs, kind of still giving you the same thing the Bogarts gave you.
Yep.
So there's your replacement for Bogarts, which is what everyone's kind of like wondering where that is. The shift not being there, I think, helps Verdugo a lot because he was probably maybe the most unlucky player in baseball last year, one of them at least.
And his foot was broken for the first 2 months of the season.
Yeah, and you saw the shape he looks in. He looks probably the best shape I've ever seen him in, and he's already kind of said it. Yeah, and he wants an extension, and he wants now he's saying that he's going to prove it, that he deserves it. So I like that. I like the hungriness of that.
I like Cora saying to him, we don't need you to hit homers. You could be a 40 to 50 double guy. Like just shoot the gaps. Like you have the speed, you have enough power, but you don't need to be up there trying to hit 30 home runs, 40 home runs. Like just be a 50 double guy. Love that. I mean, like the Red Sox, when they were at their best, it's not like they were just slugging homers all over the place. They were doubles machines, like Mookie and JD. Like they just had dudes that could hit doubles, and I think Verdugo can be that guy.
I agree. And one more thing I want to ask you about. You threw out the first pitch.
Yeah.
At Fenway Park on Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Which was really cool. And a cool thing about that is that was my bachelor party weekend, and I did it in Boston. And I went to the game before that. The only game they lost that weekend against the Yankees, which was brutal. And I was like, fuck, I should have waited another day and just went to that game, but had no idea that was happening until that didn't come out until like 2 weeks before that. It wasn't long. It wasn't long before that, and it was already planned that we were going to that game.
Yeah, I didn't give a ton of heads up on that because I didn't even think about it or freak out about it until I tweeted about it and saw the reaction to it. I didn't think that people would give a shit. Like I was just like, oh yeah, this Sunday Night Baseball, Red Sox Yankees, I'm throwing out the first pitch, and people went ballistic about it. And I was like, oh fuck, like this, like now you're making me nervous. Like I wasn't nervous. I wasn't nervous until I tweeted about it, and people were like, you shouldn't have tweeted about it. You should have just done it, and then you would have been more relaxed on the mound. I was like, yeah, but like if I create a high pressure situation for myself, then my focus will be like Adderall times a billion. Like there's no way. I was laughing at people that were like, don't bounce it. I'm like, if I miss, I'm going to absolutely sail it because my adrenaline is going to be through the roof. Like I'm going to throw it like through the fucking press box window. Like there's a 0.0% chance that I was going to bounce that baseball. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool.
It's a big thing. Do you guys have anything you want to ask?
I feel like you covered pretty much everything. I know we had one of our buddies we asked earlier, and we're like, anything you would like us to ask, and he mentioned the parlay situation, like the parlays that you give out. Do you create your own parlays, or do they just like give you something and you just put your face on it?
I do. I create my own. Sometimes they'll like suggest things to put in there that I like. It'll be like they'll have like these are 10 things that you could put into a parlay, and then I'll pick 3. The Nerfies are all me because I had such shit luck with Nerfies this year. Because I would do like a 3-game Nerfie parlay, which if you don't know what that is, it's a no run first inning. And like the first game would hit, the second game would hit, and then in the top of the first, they wouldn't score, and then in the bottom of the first, the team would score like 6 runs, and then everyone would tweet at me, be like, "You fucking idiot! Like blah blah blah. You're supposed to be a baseball expert." And I'm like, bro, like I know a lot about baseball. I cannot predict the future. I don't know if you know that about like there's no amount of baseball knowledge that allows you to predict the future. Like all I would do, like I have it's not Fangraphs or Baseball Reference. It's like a password protected statistical database that I use, and I will, to make the nerfy picks, like you can sort by like inning. So I'll click on first inning, and then I'll sort it to the last 2 weeks. Because like once you get to like July, what a team did in the first thing in April is really irrelevant. So I'm like, all right, give me like a more recent sample. So I'll do like the last 2 weeks, the last 3 weeks, only in the first inning, and then sort it by runs per game in the first inning.
Yeah.
So it'll give you a list in the last 3 weeks, which teams have been really good offensively at scoring runs in the first, and which teams cannot score in the first inning over the last 3 weeks. So that's how I'm making those picks. Like, I don't think that there's a more accurate, like, statistical column that you could look at to make those nerfy picks. And people will get so upset with me when they don't hit. And I'm like, bro, like, it's like Stephen Shea, trust the data, data. Like, there's no, like, baseball is by far the most maddening sport to bet on, because it is wildly unpredictable. Yep. Like, you could bet, like, if the Dodgers are playing the Pittsburgh Pirates, guess what? Pittsburgh Pirates could take 2 out of 3, and that's like a normal thing. Like, that could happen. That wouldn't, like, if the best team in the NFL lost to the worst team in the NFL, they're talking about that game for the next 7 days.
Yep.
If the Pirates take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, we move on. The Dodgers are going to play the Rockies now. Turn the page. That's it. It's not that big of a deal, because stuff like that can happen. So it's very difficult to hit on the parlays. But I know that now that we're creeping up on Massachusetts being legalized, and I think I'll have a better idea with, like, if I just do Red Sox only parlays. But those nerfy parlays, I swear to God, like, it's the baseball gods. They want me. They want me to lose in horrific fashion. They want me to look stupid, when what I'm telling you is there is no other data that should be applied to making those decisions other than the data that I'm looking at. You just can't get more narrowed in on what you should be looking at to make those picks. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think you really can. That's it. It's very hard to. I used to play a lot of. Well, I played FanDuel and Draftkings, but I played a lot of daily fantasy. Mm-hmm. So playing that is even. So it's such a toss up. Like, you had, like, say, like, not to shit on, but, like, say, like, a Kyle Freeland in Colorado.
I love Kyle Freeland.
Yeah, me too. But like him, but you have them, like, have like a Rockies pitcher in Colorado facing a predominantly right-handed lineup.
They're gonna load up.
You see the ISOs, they're all high, and you're like, all right, they're gonna fucking absolutely, they're gonna crush them. Then you have, out of nowhere, Kyle Freeland decides to, throw 8 innings, 7 to 8 strikeouts, and just absolutely crush everything you just did. Mm-hmm. So it's just like there's nothing that you can actually see.
It's the most unpredictable sport. It's 100%. The most unpredictable sport. But that's part of the gig, is putting your reputation on the line, because there are a lot of people that will take my bets, and if they lose, they're like, you have zero credibility. Like, you shouldn't even be alive. Why would I listen to your podcast where you talk about baseball if you can't predict the future? You absolute idiot. And it's like, all right, good point.
Yeah,
good point.
You got it.
You caught me.
Mike, is there anything you want to ask?
Yeah, I got a couple hard hitting questions. So if you can't answer these, I totally understand.
Okay. What
would be your closer theme song or wrestling entrance song?
Ooh. You would think that I would have these, like, ready to go. I think if I had a walk-up song as a batter, you know what? If I were a closer in Major League Baseball, I would come out to Roman Reigns' theme. You'd have to. Like, that song slaps, but you also, like, it sets the tone. But I think it would also, like, you see, like, the Timmy Trumpets and everyone getting into it for Edwin Diaz. I think it would be cool to come out to Seth Rollins' theme, because then you would get the whole crowd singing it. Like, I feel like any music that you can get the Shipping Up to Boston, the crowd would sing that for Jonathan Papelbon. And it would be cool. Like, if you're like a closer that throws like 98 miles an hour, they could do some sort of like green screen funky like video of you like on fire, and then you play like Seth Rollins' theme. Machine. Yeah, they could just have like the flames going throughout the whole stadium. Yeah, I it's not like my favorite wrestling entrance theme, but if I were a closer, you'd have to pick Seth Rollins' theme.
Yeah, I mean, like when you're coming up to bat, like you want a good song to get you pumped up and ready for that bat. You got a couple of bats, but when you're a closer, you're coming in at ninth. It's like you got to lock it down. Like I like Punk's ROH AFI theme song. Comes in, you make it dark, and then lights go up, and like you're ready to pitch. It's just gets the crowd all pumped out. They got the cheering parts in there too, where the whole crowd can cheer.
Yeah,
yeah. All right.
I think I would also, if I were a hitter, to go with Punk's his kill switch theme. Yeah. That would be cool. I actually have lyrics to that song tattooed on my shoulder in CM Punk's handwriting.
That's great.
Roan had him write it on a piece of paper at some bachelor party in Chicago that John Mayer was in.
What?
Yeah,
there's just a lot of different things going on there.
I don't know. It was like some like producer from LA was getting married, and he had his bachelor party in Chicago, and CM Punk was in it, and so was John Mayer, and so was Roan.
That's
you're not going to not get that tattooed on your shoulder.
So Roan,
on your shoulder, obviously.
Roan's a Philly guy.
Roan is a Philly guy.
And I actually coach baseball at his alma mater.
Oh, okay.
At St. Joe's Prep.
I can't imagine Roan is like an athlete.
I'm not saying he was an athlete. What I'm saying is I coach at the same school that he went to. But and it's crazy because the school is like extremely hard to get into. It's like not like
he's very smart. His dad is like he's like a legit rocket scientist,
which makes sense because it's like I think it's like $30,000 a year to go to the school that he went to.
That makes sense.
A high school for 4 years.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
So people forget that the original Yak was me, Roan, and Big Cat, and whenever we would have like this like high question of some sort of just like, oh, like we need a question answered about like the universe or some smart thing that none of us could come up with the answer, we would call Roan's dad because he was like a legit rocket science. So he was our go-to guy. So that makes sense. Roan's obviously very smart as well, but like his dad might be one of like the 4 smartest people in the world.
Damn.
It's insane.
What I wanted to talk about being a Red Sox fan. How hard would it be for you to pick the Yankees to like win the World Series for like your predictions?
I'd rather be wrong.
Or go to the World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, John?
I'd rather be wrong. I would rather like even if like they had like a $500 million payroll and the rest of the league had like a $50 million payroll, I would be like, I don't know. I kind of like the Astros this year. Like
so the reason they're asking this is because I have the Mets and Yankees in the World Series, and they couldn't wait to tell you that
the Yankees are worse this year than they were last year.
Understandable, but my thing with them is I feel like
fuck A-Rod.
I feel like them and the Mets are in a very similar spot as far as they have to get it done now, or they're never going to get it done. They're never going to.
Well, the Yankees are just never going to get it done. Like
I don't think they're going to get it done.
The Mets are better than they were last year. The Yankees are objectively worse. They're like, you could make the case that if Aaron Judge doesn't have a historical season, which he's obviously not going to be able to do again.
Top last year, no.
Yeah, like there's so much swing and miss in that lineup. They already lost Montas for the season. Garrett Cole's another year older. Nestor's a fluke. His second half, I mean, like Nestor's a fluke.
You loved Nestor last year.
I loved Nestor in the first half when he was good.
And you couldn't wait for him to be the all-star starter. That was your whole thing last year.
Yeah, that's also me just planting a seed. If anyone's like, "You hate the Yankees, you never say anything nice about them," like I said, Nestor was going to start the All-Star game.
That's
Like,
your
there's
thing.
nothing that I do that isn't on purpose. I
Yeah.
think he obviously is a good guy, but he's not like they were calling him like oh, he's the perfect number 2 behind Garrett Cole. No, he's not. He's not that good. He's and plus, isn't he going to be affected by the new like balk rule that they just made? Like he's
I
not
would
going to be
think
able
so.
to do like his like
I
herky
wanted to ask
jerky.
you about too.
Yeah.
With the new rules coming in, do you think it's going to affect pitchers more? As far as that, or not pitchers more, hitters more, or base running? Is it going to be like? I feel like with the balk rule, the time clock on the pitchers, only being able to throw over a certain amount of times, the bigger bases. I feel like people are going to keep taking off. I feel bad for Noah Syndergaard this year.
Yeah, I think because the bases are bigger too, you have to consider the distance to run to first base is shorter. Like how many bang plays of just guys beating out infield singles, they're now just going to be safe, like because the bases are closer from home plate. I think, like especially with pitchers, and this was an interesting point. I think they were talking about it on the Michael K show the other day, which like I'll give New York credit for that. They don't talk baseball on sports radio over here. Drives me nuts. But they'll talk baseball all day long on New York sports radio. So I'll listen to the Michael K show all the time. They were talking about how like the max effort of pitchers now, because they're just everyone's throwing 98 to 100 miles an hour. All right, but you can't just take 35 seconds to recover after you just max effort 101. So if pitcher velocity comes down because you've got to deliver a pitch in 15, 18 seconds, whatever it is, if velocity comes down, you can't shift, then is offense going to be a big time uptick because it's quicker between the bases. You can't shift. And what if pitchers get burnt out easier? Or what if they, you can't max effort that quickly? Then that'll be very interesting to see how that pans out.
Who do you have winning this year? Or what's your prediction for World Series?
I mean, I would love to see a Houston-Toronto ALCS, and I would love to see a San Diego-Atlanta NLCS. So I don't know. Maybe the Jays can get past the Astros because the Astros are like, we've been here every year for like the last 8 years. Like we're just tired. We're tired at this point. I think and they're coming off a World Series. So it's like, is the hunger still there? You just won a World Series. Toronto's obviously geared up and they're hungry. And then San Diego, same thing. It's like the Braves won it and San Diego's clearly going for it. So yeah, maybe a Toronto San Diego World Series.
This motherfucker's a smart man.
I
had the Padres beating the Jays in 7 games.
Okay.
So. Phillies over Toronto in 6 with a walk-off 30 years after Joe.
He just wants the redemption for the 93 World Series so bad. It's unbelievable. That's all he wants. He's just begging.
11 years old. I was actually at the game when they went 15 innings and lost.
Oh, God.
Like my first real like Phillies moment being like a fan, and like to go to that game and then to see Joe Carter hit that walk off.
That must have been so cool though. Like
it was great, especially being 11. It's like you're just like it's when you're really getting into baseball, and to have that 93 team, like John Kruk's my idol. If I could be anyone in this world, I think I'd be John Kruk.
That's awesome.
Just him talking about like in 93, like eating hot dogs in the vet, like playing wiffle ball till 4 a.m. and then going 3 for 3 that day. And I'm like, they were just such a fun team. So I really want to see 30 years later, like to get some revenge on them guys.
That would be cool. I mean, I went to every single NLCS game in Philly.
I met you there.
I remember that outside the gates.
Yep.
Yeah. It was insane. Like how loud it was. And I mean, there was one, I can't remember because it all blends together now. There was one game where it was just raining and freezing.
It was the final. It was the game I met you at. Yeah, it was the game that Ranger Suarez came in and everyone was singing Mr. Rager.
Yes.
It was awesome.
And so like we had pretty good seats, but they were exposed. And so I went underneath and I was watching it on TV. And I had Philly fans coming up to me, be like, Carrabis, you fucking pussy. Like, well, I'm like, bro, like, this is not my team. Like, I would freeze my balls off for the Red Sox if it was the ALCS and shit. But I was like, I don't give a fuck, like, if who wins this game. Like, I'm like, it is freezing and it's raining. Like, I'm not standing in the rain to watch this game.
Thanks for being here.
So that was, I don't know if you saw it. You might not have. You might have, because it kind of went crazy. So my wife posted a video of so her dad was like crying because her mom passed away. Her mom was a big Phillies fan, and like looked up he was like looking up in the sky like saying it was for her, and like it went crazy. Like Ben Verlander shared it. Like,
I think I saw that.
ESPN shared it. Like
yeah,
I think Barstool shared it. Like, it was like it went nuts, dude. It was like, but like that was the game. And I was like, dude, this is like the craziest day ever. Like, I see you there. That whole thing happens. I'm like, what the? And then Harper's homer, which was incredible. Like, it was just like the craziest like game I've ever been to for me not being a Phillies fan. Like, it was like it was just wild watching that.
Yeah, that was an experience. I'm glad we went. Like, that was the whole thing of why we went was because we wanted to be a part of it. Like, we heard all the people, like I saw all the tweets about how loud it was. They were breaking like decibel records in like the division series. So we were like, all right, because we originally, the plan was to be in Atlanta, and Atlanta gets bumped. So we're like, all right, where are we going to go? And I was like, Philly. We have to be in Philly. Like, if it's that loud there, like we were basically, you know, how like Caleb and Roan, like they're like storm chasers. Like, we were chasing like whoever was like the rowdiest playoff crowd. And it was unequivocally the Phillies. So I was like, that's where we're going.
That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool.
It was really cool. I was actually on the road. I drove from Philly down to Houston for the World Series and then out to California. And everywhere I went, it was Nashville. I was there for game 1 and 2. 50, 60 people for Phillies fans coming up, doing the cheers, yelling, seeing the Phillies hat, maybe 1 or 2 Astros fan. New Orleans, same thing. I thought New Orleans might have been more Houston. All Phillies fans. There might have been over 100 Phillies fans down there, partying, jerseys, everything. It was just awesome. Even in California, they were all like, oh, you know, sorry you lost and this and that. And it was just everyone. I felt like everyone was just rooting for the Phillies. More against the Astros than the Phillies, but it was a really cool special time seeing that stadium like that, hearing it, like being on the road, like it was like proud. I was proud. Yeah, that's my team. That's, you know, my guys doing all that and all.
Driving back to the hotel after they clinched the pennant, like there were people in the streets everywhere for the entire ride back to the hotel. We just saw people partying in the streets. So I knew that and I did this when we went to Seattle for the wild card game. Because like I know that there are fan bases that are far more passionate than other fan bases. So me being like a diehard Red Sox guy, I know that like if I'm going to go to these games, I'm taking a seat away from a potential like diehard Phillies fan, a diehard Mariners fan. It was their first time in the postseason since 2001. So when I went to the Mariners playoff game, I bought tickets for 2 Mariners fans and I just gave them away on Twitter. I was like, I don't, it's not like a fucking contest. Like, don't retweet. Don't, like, you don't have to be following. I was like, if I'm going to be there, then I want to make sure that I'm making sure that like Mariners fans are getting in. Cool. And with the Phillies, it was like the same deal. I was like, because people were fucking like Phillies fans were mad at me. Like they were like yelling at me for being there. And I was like, bro, this is my job. I'm supposed to, you know, cover baseball. And I was like, all right, well, we'll make sure that like a couple Phillies fans get in if I'm going to be taking up a seat here. And so let me ask you, I was wearing a jacket, I think with just like a regular hoodie underneath, and some Phillies fans were like, fuck you for not wearing anything Philly. And I'm like, but I'm a Boston guy. Like, I'm not going to show up to a Phillies playoff game wearing Phillies shit and pretend to be a Phillies fan.
No.
There are plenty of people that were there that knew who I was, that know I'm a Red Sox fan.
100%.
I would rather just be a neutral, like, you know my team, like I'm a Red Sox fan, than be like a fake Phillies fan. Like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, and at this point, you're in media now. So it's like you're a Red Sox fan, but you are in media. So you're going to be in other places. And, it would be weird if I saw you in a Phillies hat.
Yeah.
You're the Red Sox guy.
Like,
Yeah.
Like,
I like the Phillies, like kind of like that blue that you're wearing. Like I almost got like a Philly hoodie. It was like a soft blue that had like the color of your hat and it said like Phillies on it. I was like, I almost would get that just because I like the color scheme. But if I did buy it, I wouldn't wear it to the game, especially during a playoff game.
If
like,
you
I would wear that just like chilling on the podcast.
While you were buying that, you were probably going to get fucking roasted too the entire time.
Probably, yeah. But it's also just like, I would have been like, yeah, it's like a souvenir that I was at the NLCS.
You can get away at at least different leagues, but it's my NL, so it's whatever.
Yeah. I mean, like one of my cousins is a diehard Phillies fan. Diehard. Really? Yeah. He same last name. He's a Carrabis too. So, but he like he's in the military, so he was like stationed all around. So he didn't have like a home base type deal. And so he gravitated towards the Phillies, and he's just diehard. And it's crazy because he's like I think he's like I think he's my first cousin. So the fact that we're all not Red Sox fans is kind of crazy to me, but yeah. So I have Philly fan blood. Fuck you guys.
There you go. There you go. Anyone have anything else?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty good now.
Jarrett.
Yeah.
Awesome, dude. We appreciate this.
Cool.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, I mean, this was fun. I enjoyed it. I will apologize for taking so long to get on. I used to do like, I don't know, between like 2015 to 2019, 2020, I used to do like other people's podcasts all the time. And since I left Barstool, I haven't done really any. Like, this is probably like the second one that I've done, just because I'm always like afraid that I'm going to say something that I shouldn't say. Because I always know that
worry about that here.
Yeah. Like, I always know that like the topic is going to come up, and but yeah, I'm always just like hesitant to talk about it. But yeah, I mean, I'm like, you guys are obviously, you guys know your shit. So this was a fun time.
Awesome.
I really appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, we appreciated this. It was a lot of fun. We're definitely going to get some jealous friends that we actually had you on, because like you said, you don't go on often. You don't go on other people's stuff often. So this is it's almost like an exclusive. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But Jarrett, we appreciate it. We thank you. If everyone's got nothing else to say, we are out.
Cool. Thank you guys.
Good to go. Appreciate it, man.